Good morning, guys. Welcome to this Tuesday, August 19th. Looks like we got the range-bound market to get started. Not much going on. Pretty light volume. Uh, all drums, sideways action. Been that way for a few days now. Uh, and the news this morning is pretty much non-existent. We have housing starts and permits at 8:30, and that's about it. We have an e-commerce retail sales number coming out at 10. Not sure how big of a deal that's going to be, but that's about it. So very light on news today, and we're pretty much looking at more of the same, I would think, unless we get some kind of a headline, a sidetrack, or something on the headline news, geopolitically or otherwise. I think we're in for more of the same today. So looking at the more of a range-bound trading day, it looks like they've been slowly grinding this to the downside the last few days. So I would not be surprised if that keeps going. But we're down at the key support there at 64.50. So I would still be looking at buying against that 50-55 area for rotations back up. But if that comes out, I would look for them probably to drift right back down here to that tractor at the 6410 here. It's 6400 to 6410, but that's going to be the attractor on the downside. So there's a little bit of range to go if they start taking out this support there at 6450. So that's the kind of that would be a move. It would be a little bit more than just a doldrums kind of a day if that happens, but that would be definitely a move you want to be on the short side of. Now, it could also be that we're going to see several days of just grinding a little bit lower, a little bit lower, a little bit lower like that. It's just we just have to see how the day shapes out. So if you see some action in early on in the morning, directional action, maybe then when you have a shot at hopping on that one. Otherwise, I would be just looking at this as a flat out range bound market. So I'm looking to buy against support. We're trading right at that 60 level, so that's not going to be really valid. But 64, 50, 55 here for rotations back up. Below that one, I would shift my bias a little bit to the short side and see if they can take it lower. Do that retracement trade down here to that 64, 64.10 area. And on the way up, looking for shorts against the 64.70s, the 75s up to the 85s for rotations back down. And I think if they take out the 85s, I would probably start looking at maybe a long direction developing here and then leaning in on the long side a little bit. Nothing of this means they're going to be very super aggressive on the long side or not, but uh, I would just emphasize range-bound trading. So even if it starts drifting above that 85 level, I would be more, I would still be looking for shorts against the 95s and the 65 or 5s for rotations back down. Yes, not as aggressively. Same thing there. If they start taking out the 55s, I was still looking to buy against the 40s, against the 30s, against the 10s for rotations back up again. But it's not as aggressive. You're going to wait for to get to the level, wait for a setup and a trigger before aggressively hopping on that trade. The difficulty is if you're getting it really into one of these same days as we had yesterday, where this just goes back and forth like this, where you have to be super aggressive on the edges. And I would just give it a little bit of time earlier this morning and see if they're going to start off the same way and maybe fall back into a little bit more aggressively, fade the edges using the day numbers, the first and second standard deviation. But if you get like it's an initial or a morning rush, if you wish, and they see a directional move to the downside or maybe even to the upside. But I think the chances are that a downside move might be more the expected move here. If you start seeing that, maybe that would be more of a level I would hop on the short side of. Hang on a sec, guys. All right, back with you. All right, uh, so that's the only thing I would look for, and maybe a move after if they take out that low of the 55s and move to the downside. Other than that, I would just be see if watching kind of fading the edges fairly well. I would give it a little bit of time to see if any direction develops early on, but if it doesn't, I would just fall back on fairly aggressively fading the edges. And then you kind of be had to be kind of on the V top, V bottom kind of trading. That's not the fun thing to do, but it's kind of the best thing you're gonna have to do at that point. So that's where we are on the ES to get started. Looking at the Nasdaq and the bonds. So a bond market just backed down a bit right into that lower distribution again. So they're right smack in the middle of it. They were up here for a bit, now they're back down again. And so yes, range bound trading on the bonds. Pretty much back to where they were. So I would just look to buy weakness, 1320s, 13 10 to 12s, or sorry, 12 to 13s. And it's looking for shorts against 114 and 114.08, 114.06 up to the 114.12s. So, but two, three levels up, two, three levels down, and that's about it. And then let's see if we get any directional move. They've been grinding slowly to the downside, so I would not be surprised if we see them try to take this lower. It feels like, okay, we're going from the upper end of the range to the lower. So given the last few days, the selling strength would probably be the favorable one to do. See if they can take this lower, but it doesn't necessarily need to be. So early on, I would look for shorts against the 114s, 114.06s. See if they and if that holds, and look for a move to the downside. But I would emphasize as flat out range bound trading. Looking at the Nasdaq, also it's actually in a pretty big range. So Nasdaq doesn't have an obvious edge like the ES has for retracement. They're pretty much in the middle of this big range right now. They made a nice move out of the middle to the upside. This other split here, you can split it out like this, and you see that, okay, they had one move, then they stalled, and another move higher. So you have a little congestion area here at the 740, 750s, and that comes out, I think we can retrace a little bit further. So that would be the best shot you have. But so we're right at it right now. So I would look to buy against that 750, then down to the 720s for rotations back up. If they take out that 20s and look for a little bit further weakness to the downside, and that would be the same dynamic as we're looking at on the ES, looking for a potential little leg to the downside, and that one you want to be on the short side of, and see how far they can retrace it. But if they don't get much of a breakout to the downside early on here, I would just fall back flat out range bound. Now, if they start trading higher and they take out that 870s, I would lean back in on the long side and see if they can maybe head back up here to that 930 attractor. Maybe even test that 960 level, but looking for shorts initially against the 800s, the 830s up to that 870s. Looking to buy against the 750s and the 720s. And not very aggressive right now. This is light volume trading like this is notoriously difficult because you just end up getting caught and stuff. So you don't want to do that. So be careful about that. So I haven't yet. Yes, didn't take any trades. We'll see if something sets up today for a potential trade. And finally, oil and gold. Gold not doing much at all. That's kind of in a holding pattern. They had done here at that lower support area right now. And for gold, it's this area, this big little ledge here. I'm waiting for them to retrace it back to that 3340s. Looks like they're still holding right here at the support. So as long as they hold here, they can technically run right back up to the 3400s, maybe higher. If they do take it out, there have been probably once, probably in the overnight. So I'm thinking that we may see a move to the downside here developing. We'll see if that materializes, but I'm looking for a rundown here. So if that starts happening, just hop on a short trade and see if you can get into head down to the 40s. Gold is difficult though to get in on a move. When you start moving, you tend to move quickly and far, so you don't have a lot of opportunities unless you're really watching it. So gold, potential move to the downside. I would initially look to buy against that 80s, 75, 70s for rotations back up. I look for short setups against the 88s, the 95s up to the 3402s. But if they start trading above 02s, I'm going to start leaning in on the long side. Definitely confirmation above the 3408s. Below the 3370s, I think we may have a short developing at that point for a run down here to that 40 attractor area. That would you want to be on the short side of that. So that's gold. Starting off range bound. Let's see if they can take out that lower edge or not. And then oil, we roll that onto the October expiration, and right now we are basically sideways. Not much going on there. Slowly drifting to the downside, and I think that's going to just be the what happens to oil. Slowly, it's going to keep coming down and keep coming down. So as oil comes down, we're into this little lower attractor area right now. So they backed off this upper area. We're slowly grinding it down, and we'll see if they're going to take another leg lower. But at this point, they are at pretty much at that 61, 62 attractor area. So I would just look at range bound trading on oil. So sideways action on oil. Look to sell strength, 62.30s, 62.60s up to the 63s. Looking to buy weakness, 61.80s, 61.50s down to the 61.20s for rotations back up. So like 2-3 levels up, 2-3 levels down, and then just kind of leave it at that. So I'm not going to be very aggressive on oil. I think it is both oil and gold. If gold starts heading lower, I hope I can catch it. But it's oil. I don't think it's going to be much of a if not much tradable opportunities there. It's going to be more sloppiness, I think. But we'll see. So range bound oil, range bound gold. Look for that potential short breakdown for oil, for gold, if that's going to happen. If it doesn't, just go back range bound on that guy. And we'll see how it kind of shakes out here early on this morning. So that's what we got. So back to the ES, and so far the ES volume is like at 78,000, 106 on the micro ES, so a little bit of light on volume. So yeah, this whole thing is going to develop throughout the morning here. But so what I'm looking for is that potential retracement trade developing, and if it doesn't, then I'm going to just pull back on range bound trading on that on both the ES and Nasdaq. Alrighty, guys, we'll leave it there. So good trading, guys, and I will see you back at 11:30 for the next update.